Hey, this is D Knight.
This is Carol. we also have a third person. I'm not sure what happened. She forgot her line.
No, you guys said it at the same time. That's why I was laughing.
I think you're experiencing a lag.
Yeah, I think you froze there. And that's Ty, and you're listening to the Pardon the Insurrection podcast, where we don't get in fights with the staff at Arlington National Cemetery.
Wait, you didn't ask me if I did. I haven't, but
I mean, I guess anything's possible. Ty, I know you from a military family, so I guess it's possible you visited Arlington and got into a little brouhaha with the staff there over, taking pics of the ground.
I have been to Arlington Cemetery, and I did not verbally assault nor physically assault a staff member.
Kudos to you for, not
Did you imply in any way that anyone buried there was a loser and or sucker?
No, I did not do that either. And I did witness a wreath laying ceremony that was, I was a Congressional Youth Leadership Scholar. It was a trip to Washington, and one of the girls in my group, her father died in Vietnam. And she never got to meet him, and they let her participate in the wreath laying ceremony. And that's the first time I'd see it at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. And I was only 17 years old, but it was absolutely moving. And that was my first experience witnessing that. And it was so nice. So I always have that burned in my brain of that's what that ceremony should look like. You know what I mean? That type of respect, that kind of solemn. And none of us knew her. We were from all over the country, but we all paid the same respect and realized what a moment that was for her to get to be a part of, that. So
yeah, it's not a moment to pose for Instagram.
No, even if there wasn't Instagram, I wouldn't have done it. I didn't even do that without Instagram. I was like, hey, get out that disposable 35 millimeter. No,
that's
none of that.
Speaking of being appropriately taking the situation, we should mention our sponsor, Colin.
Sheets and Giggles. Hit up sheetsandgiggles.com. Get you some sheets. I got some.
Sheets. He supports democracy, and they're environmentally friendly and sustainable.
Yes, they're sustainable sheets. They're comfortable as all get out.
Yeah, they're on my bed right now. They've been on there for 2 weeks. I need to take them off and wash them, but I don't want to put the other sheets on there while they're in the...
Yeah, David loves
them. And Colin's
them.
hot. Anyway.
He put them on. David was like...
Yeah, also, if you want to get your thirst trap on, Colin is hot.
So he's an attractive man, but we should get moving.
I would definitely do him for more sheets.
All right, Carol.
After you take it away.
Giggle, so
lickety split,
so we
Carol.
We got our the guy we love to hate. Actually, I would just wish he would go away and I wouldn't have to think about him ever again.
Will you have your chance in November? Sorry, I killed your song. But yes, Carol has a theme song ready to go for us.
And it feels so good. Okay. Special counsel, Jack Smith.
Jack Smith for the win, man. Not even gonna lie. He did that. He's like, he can keep a secret. He's like,
Special counsel Jack Smith Tuesday announced that a grand jury had re-indicted former President Donald Trump on 4 charges related to his January 6, 2021 coup attempt to honor the direction given by the U.S. Supreme Court in its July ruling, holding that Trump was immune from criminal prosecution for official acts. So yeah, we had to go back and tailor the ruling to be like, no, this might be an official act. No, then it's just this. We have enough just on the clearly not official acts to move. So Judge Chutkan.
Tanya Chutkan.
That's what happens when you crime so much.
We'll find something. Don't worry. You definitely did something.
And you know what's so funny is that he took out a full page ad saying that the exonerated 5 should stay locked up because even if they didn't do the Central Park rape and beating, they did something. How's that working out, Trump? Because you may not have done this and you might have immunity for that, but you definitely did something.
I've never seen anyone with a more incredible streak of saying some shit about someone else that actually applies to them.
Yes, right? Somebody should take a full page ad out on Trump.
Next time.
Many people have. So Judge Tanya Chutkan was overseeing the case, wrote in a separate filing, quote, "Today, a federal grand jury in the District of Columbia returned a superseding indictment. The superseding indictment, which was presented to a new grand jury that had not previously heard evidence in this case, reflects the government's effort to respect and implement the Supreme Court's holdings." Yes, we wouldn't want to disrespect the Supreme Court. And just so you know, the quote has ended. She didn't say that last part about disrespecting the Supreme Court. It sounds like it was implied, but yeah, it's pretty fucking cool.
It's going to be okay, Carol.
We've been charged for more shit.
Yeah, well, it's really the same
shit. This is the part
shit.
where I eat my snack.
It's totally fine. Crunch away, munch away. I had some chicken croquettes earlier, so I'm pretty good in the snack department. But yes, after that, in court filing by special counsel's office, Trump responded to the unsealing of the indictment on Truth Social, and obviously, as per the usual, a deranged rant, saying, quote,
"So are you going to do the honor? Hillary Clinton, Hillary.
You know what? I forgot my Trump impersonation. I haven't done it in a while. Hillary Clinton, in an effort to resurrect the dead witch hunt in Washington, D.C., in an act of
desperation and in order to save face, the illegally appointed special counsel, deranged Jack Smith, has brought a ridiculous new indictment against me."
Yeah. It's such a long quote. I started looking at it. I was like, I don't know. This is super. Yeah, I'm good.
Which is all the problems of the old indictment. It should be maybe we should just read it as a whiny baby, as it should be read.
I mean,
it should
that's
be dismissed
accurate.
immediately. The document hoax case has been completely dismissed. This is merely an attempt to interfere with the election and distract the American people from the catastrophes Kamala Harris has inflicted on our nation, like the border invasion, migrant crime, rampant inflation, and the threat of World War III and more. And he probably pronounced it I. World War I.
It's a catastrophe. Yeah, that's my guy.
It's a catastrophe.
Catastrophe.
That's how he says it. I know it is.
Yeah. So, like, obviously,
I thought it was going to say catastrophic.
I expected Jack Smith and special counsel's office to edit the indictment, to maybe pare it down or remove some of the information that pertained to, like, Trump's conversations with DOJ and executive branch officials, but that's not what they did. And they took it's not totally surprising. I heard suggested that it'd be a possibility of a superseding indictment. And what they did here, first of all, they impaneled a new grand jury to rehear the evidence, sends the evidence that would have been ruled out by the Supreme Court. And I think that was a fairly smart decision in terms of making the trial appeal proof, should we ever get to that point, because it takes away the argument that the jury's been corrupted by evidence that they shouldn't have heard, i.e. Trump's conversations with Jeffrey Clark and such. So that was probably a good move. Also, it's
you always
noteworthy.
Want to diversify your verdicts.
Also, it's noteworthy that the 4 original charges still remain, just that the evidence that they plan to present at this point differs slightly thanks to the Supreme Court ruling. And the Supreme Court did really go out of their way to try and make sure that they sabotage this case, not in terms of making the indictment and the trial go away, but making it difficult to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt by making it nearly impossible to use any evidence from either, Trump doing his job, quote unquote, or any public statements, i.e. like his Twitter account, like taking away
the presidential one or it
doesn't matter.
Real Donald Trump, because he never used the presidential one. And it should seem that tweeting from, it's kind of bullshit if like tweeting from his personal account just because he's wildly unprofessional makes it an official act.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's what the Supreme Court ruled, and that's why I said they went out of their way here. I'm
going to tell my boss that the Supreme Court says I can be on Twitter at work as much as I want because it's an official act.
Well, as soon as you're elected president, you have Like have a good time with that.
I realize this doesn't apply to my situation.
No, but also it was interesting that the DOJ didn't drop any of the charges. They reissued them in a new indictment, which means they're fairly confident that even, with the limitations placed on what they are able to argue in court, they still feel fairly confident they can prove all the charges. And I personally thought Trump was undercharged, but that's a story there is a prosecutorial strategy. Like it can be a double-edged sword if you undercharge or overcharge, because you don't undercharge and there's some reasonable doubt. It's harder. You can't go back, dig in the bag, get more charges. If you overcharge, sometimes like when it comes to the jury, it's too much for them to wrap their heads around, and you could end up creating doubt that way. But also, what's interesting is that in this current version of the indictment, they removed any references to Trump in his time in office. When the initial indictment started out with, Trump was the 45th president of the United States, blah, blah, blah. They replaced all that language and changed it to like Trump was a candidate for the 2020 election. So they're clearly making a delineation between, Trump's official duties, his office in the White House, and now they're just solely honing in on the fact that he was acting as a candidate for the 2020 election and all of the illegal activity that he engaged in leading up to January 6th. And it also removed any references again to Jeffrey Clark and any of Trump's communications with executive branch officials. Now, what's interesting is the information regarding Mike Pence that was in the original indictment is also present in this version of the indictment, as Mike Pence was acting as the president of the Senate, which is not an executive branch office. And there's a clear delineation in his role as vice president, doing his official duties as an executive officer versus a legislative officer in this case. And I feel like DOJ must have been looking squarely at the ruling the Supreme Court made and trying to figure out any loopholes they could to get as much evidence in as possible. And obviously, this does set the trial back on track in terms of eventually happening. But before the 2024 election, it's impossible. We got like 70 days left. It's just they ran out the clock. The Supreme Court, it did what it wanted to do, got the job done in terms of delaying Trump's trial. And to be honest, they're going to have to litigate, numerous instances of evidence that they want to present at the trial, in pretrial motions and such. And like at any point, if Trump doesn't like the ruling by Judge Chutkan on any number of issues, he can likely appeal it up to the Supreme Court, and they could just take it up again, delay the trial even further. It could be this infinite loop of delay. But yeah.
So luckily we have hopefully this other option of not voting for him in the presidential election that's upcoming. That would be perfect, because that would really help the chances of maybe him seeking leveling justice upon his head.
Yeah, fingers crossed we can make that happen.
In a non-threatening way, if the Secret Service even does their job anymore.
Right. If the 2020 election, voting him out of office was getting the ball rolling towards getting him indictment, then the 2024 election and keeping him out of office is the key to making sure he faces the conviction at trial, even though he's already been convicted and won, but no one really cares anymore. Apparently, I guess like a felon running for president, not that big of a news story. Whoop-de-doo, what can you do? Also noteworthy, I think, is the idea, and we talked about this on the previous podcast momentarily. So DOJ has this policy. It's not like a rule, but just kind of a guideline that 60 days before an election, they won't take any overt acts that they believe could interfere with any kind of election. we're like 69 days away. So we've got about 9 more days on the clock for DOJ to take any action against any of Trump's co-conspirators. And so in terms of DOJ issuing the superseding indictment, it's noteworthy about Trump's co-conspirators. It could mean like, one of any number of things. But I personally don't think it's possible or even plausible the DOJ is going to issue new charges against co-conspirators until at the very least after the election. But it's possible that the investigation isn't finished. And like they just don't have enough evidence yet for multiple, indictments of members of Congress and the people at the war rooms on January 6th, the fake elector plot, etc. I don't think that's totally likely, but I guess it's plausible. It could just be that they want to focus on Trump right now and get this squared away before they indict anyone else if they're going to. Because like that could literally just add more years to the clock with multiple co-defendants in their pretrial motion practice. But
so you think this might be an act out of expedience to get him charged with get something going more before the election?
Yeah, well, I think they're going to try and move as fast as possible with this, but like the idea that it's going to take place, this trial of Trump's going to take place before the election, that's a wrap. It's over with. That's done. So. But
no, but they could start scheduling it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're going to try and move as much of their scheduling and motion practice up as quickly as possible. But we know that they were aiming to like streamline this indictment because of the way Trump was indicted, the language, and also the fact that, again, they listed numerous co-conspirators, but none of those co-conspirators were actually indicted. So, I mean, they attempted to make this as streamlined as possible, but I had been hinting like for months and months and months after the indictment, like, hey, man, like this could go to trial, but the Supreme Court definitely can find a way to stop this thing, delay it, throw it off the tracks. And that's exactly what they did. I mean, it's just, unfortunate that we have a bunch of Trump's cronies appointed to the Supreme Court to step in and play defense counsel in his favor. But that's the world we live in. You don't like it, your options are vote for Kamala Harris, and then when they retire, she'll have the opportunity to fill their positions, get them dudes up out of there. I mean, look, I think one of the biggest mistakes Jack Smith, special counsel, the whole office has made is they didn't issue a subpoena for Jeannie Thomas for her communications with any Trump campaign officials and all of the multiple state legislators.
I just don't understand or agree with all the decorum that's been used to like preserve some bullshit like appearances.
Yeah,
I don't know. We didn't have time for a farce. Like that's not what we need as a society.
No, not taking her seriously and not issuing some kind of subpoena and let them know that her and Clarence Thomas are on the radar. It basically gave carte blanche to the Republicans on the Supreme Court to just go bananas because they're like, well, who's going to stop us? And that would have it's entirely possible if they had got this done earlier where they had Jeannie Thomas in the crosshairs for her role in the 2016 coup, that the Supreme Court ruling would have turned out different. It's entirely possible that Colorado court decision to kick Trump off the ballot for attempting to overthrow the government would have stood. It's a whole lot of things that could have been solved likely in one fell swoop if they had just had some fucking balls. I mean, I say have some fucking balls. They indicted a former president. It's never been done. So I just want to say I'm not totally criticizing Jack Smith or Merrick Garland or the Department of Justice. It's not like they're not doing their jobs, but you gotta, you can't play chess with someone who's willing to burn the board.
Now, is it really cold or are they burning it out of spite? Sorry. I'm getting stuck on some.
All right, Carol.
Some side thoughts. So next we're going to move on to Trump running from the debate. So Trump has been making all sorts of noise like a big fucking baby about how he would, how it's cheating to replace Joe Biden. That's not fair. He's already spent money and he's too stupid to debate Kamala. He didn't say the last part. He just implied it with his words and actions. So he confirmed Tuesday that his presidential debate with Vice President Kamala Harris on ABC News is still on after appearing to suggest that the network shows too much, quote, hostility toward Republicans for him to attend the event. So yeah, he's still being a whiny fucking baby. The Harris campaign rejects the claims that the September 10th debate will have the same rules from June, stating that mics will be turned on during the entire debate. Oh, that's smart. It sounds like they want to not stop their enemy while he's making a mistake.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect strategy.
In a statement from the Harris campaign, an official said, both candidates have publicly made clear their willingness to debate with unmuted mics for the duration of the debate to fully allow for substantive exchange between the candidates. But it appears Donald Trump is letting his handlers overrule him. Sad. That's a great statement.
Man, the trolling is like
top tier
level. It's beautiful.
God tier.
Handlers sad.
This is the stuff that I was complaining about. I mean, it's not that I was complaining about the Biden campaign, but this is the stuff that I wanted them to be doing, like to just be on the ball, ready to go with the quick comebacks, with the obvious, like just like stuff like this, where it's obvious. You just saw the sad in there, mocking Trump. Yeah, continue, Carol.
So at a campaign stop in Virginia on Monday, Trump told reporters that he was, quote, still thinking about, quote, unquote, and, quote, participating in the upcoming ABC debate after watching Senator Tom Cotton on the network on Sunday and not liking how the senator was treated.
Yeah, they asked him questions.
He's
right.
This is a person who's doesn't take his commitment seriously, obviously. I mean, aside from being a whiny little bitch.
Absolutely not.
What's the point of a promise from someone who's going to like try to cancel every other second and make an excuse? I'm starting to think that his character is not right for this office.
Oh, you mean he's not fit to be the president of the United States? You don't say.
That's exact. I'm starting to have a bad feeling about this Donald J. Trump.
It's not the coup that did it for you, or trying to blackmail Ukraine and then investigating Hunter Biden, or the sexual
in
assault.
bed with Putin.
Yeah, the
integrating our servicemen and women, our veterans.
Yeah, sabotaging the withdrawal in Afghanistan, sabotaging
blaming
the Kurds. Biden.
Sabotaging a border deal.
Yeah, all that. None of that did it for you. Not the multiple convictions, the felonies.
Yeah, it was all that, but I really wanted to hear you list them all in order.
The fraud, the lies, the whores. No offense to his wife.
No offense to whores. Oh,
I'm pro whore.
So
right. I just nixed the whore comment, but yeah, I can so he's already publicly stated previously that he wants the mics on. So this idea that they're haggling over whether the mics should be on or not is absolutely utterly ridiculous. This is just his campaign trying to find a way for him to wiggle out of the debate, because after we saw the performance between him and Trump, obviously Kamala Harris has the playbook, so she knows what to do, and she'll probably destroy him on the stage. I mean, the showdown.
I think he's being destroyed psychologically by her campaign and her, and I hope
absolutely
it continues. He's
spiraling
him, and it's beautiful to see. But it said he's continued on. When I looked at the hostility of that, I said, "Why am I doing it? Let's do it with another network. I want to do it."
Yeah, so it seems
a teenage girl and not a toddler today.
Maybe, but it seems as though there's some kind of uproar amongst his staff trying to keep him from doing the debate with the mics on because they know he can't shut the fuck up. But there might be a couple of other reasons why they want the networks to cut the mic, because, well, Trump has a tendency to ramble, get off topic, say insane shit that makes no sense. And it could possibly lead him down a rabbit hole that would be extraordinarily disastrous for him. And, we have evidence of that from a recent ad that Trump posted here.
Are we going to watch it?
We certainly are, just to illustrate the point.
This is your favorite president, Donald J. Trump, with some very exciting news. By popular demand, I'm doing a new series of Trump digital trading cards. You all know what they are. We've had a lot of fun with them. It's called the America First Collection. 50 all-new stunning digital trading cards. It's really something. These cards show me dancing and even me holding some Bitcoins. Here's the best part. I'm doing great things for my Trump digital card collectors. First, there's the real physical Trump cards. Purchase 15 or more of my Trump digital trading cards, and we'll mail you a beautiful physical trading card.
It's like $1,500.
Really, I think quite something. Each physical trading card has an authentic piece of my suit that I wore for the presidential debate, and people are calling it the knockout suit. I don't know about that, but that's what they're calling it. So we'll cut up the knockout suit, and you're going to get a piece of it, and we'll be randomly autographing 5 of them, a true collector's item. This is something to give your family, your kids, your grandchildren. Number 2 is to purchase 75 of my Trump digital trading cards. And you will also be invited to join me for a gala dinner at my beautiful country club in Jupiter, Florida. We really have tremendous dinners with my collectors. Have a lot of fun together. We're going to have a good time. I'm keeping my Trump digital trading cards at the same price of $99 each. We've done that right from the beginning. So go to collecttrumpcards.com. It's really easy to buy. You just need an email address and a credit card or crypto. You know, they call me the crypto president. I don't know if that's true or not, but a lot of people are saying that. So don't miss out. Go to collecttrumpcards.com. Go right now and collect your piece of American history. Let's have fun together and enjoy my Trump cards. We're going to have a lot of fun. We'll be talking about it for a long time. Thank you very much. Have a good time.
Guys, please come out and hang out with me. My mom says I'm cool, and these AI depictions of me that are wildly over flattering.
Okay, no, I need to
come hang
ask.
out. Please buy my cards. Come over. Let's play cards.
After he said that there were cards of him dancing, and then he said,
Holding
Bitcoin. Bitcoins?
No, holding a bit. Yeah, me holding a Bitcoin.
He said be holding Bitcoin.
No, me holding a Bitcoin.
He said holding a Bitcoin. Like,
well, you know, why does he talk like that? He talks like he's making his mouth into a sphincter, like, and he doesn't talk. He goes.
Well, that's because he was reading.
Trading card. He looks like that Trumpy fish.
He was reading. He just reads
trout.
The entire sentence. Like, it doesn't matter where the period is.
Like this to the.
I don't know, man. He's extraordinarily weird.
Maybe dancing in his
he said holding a
bit. I'm dancing because he's just looking at the cards.
The only song he's going to be left with is Lord Trump.
Yeah.
Bad rendition of.
Nah, we don't want to hear that shit. No, he said holding a Bitcoin like someone who's never bought weed before. They go to the weed guy and they're like, may I have
weed, please?
Can I get 4 weeds, please? Thanks. No, and he couldn't even stay on topic at that. He's like, they're calling it the knockout suit. I don't know about that, but that's what they're saying. Like, well, that's not on the script.
Didn't he give away pieces of his suit when he turned himself in his indictment or his arrest suit?
The editor has no clothes.
Cards, and he goes, certain number of cards are going to have a piece of the suit that I wore.
Yeah, this isn't a new tactic. This is the same old grift. And again, those cards
just
are
like how I sell my underwear. No, I'm just kidding.
I'll take a pair of those. We'll talk about that after the podcast. But no, those NFTs are $100. I think there was a lot more
digital NFTs.
Digital. I'm going to sell some digital used underwear.
That's how NFTs work. Yeah, good luck.
For every $1,500 you spend digital used underwear, I'll send you a real underwear. These parties will be great.
You buy 10 of those cards, you get the real card, and some of the cards will have the Trump suit in them. But this is a grift again, obviously.
He said, give them to your grandkids.
More importantly, if you can just listen to him speaking, you can see why his staff is afraid to have him on stage with Kamala Harris, who's a fucking prosecutor.
Start pushing some MLM shit.
Did they have muted mics, or they were supposed to during his debate with Biden?
Yeah. So,
and how did that work out?
Well, when the other person was supposed to be speaking, their mic would be cut off, and vice versa. The problem is, during the Trump campaign debate, the moderators kept cutting off President Biden while he was speaking, and then they would just let Trump ramble on forever until he finished his thoughts, and it was a disaster. CNN, shame on you guys for the way you fucking handle that. ABC's probably not going to be much better. I know ABC probably, has this reputation is more of a apolitical network, but it's really not. It is. I mean, it's what
none of them are. There's no
CNN has gone full right. ABC has been soft right since Trump got into office. Like it's not any better, guys. If you're listening to this, I urge you to go out and find independent media sources to listen to, or you can listen to us. Although we're staunchly pro-democracy, which means we're in favor of the Democratic Party currently. But if Kamala Harris ever tries to overthrow the government and by staging a coup, we'll clearly move on to another party. That's the difference between us and Republicans. But
at least another candidate. Losers.
Or another country.
Well, if you're wondering why he's even doing this insane grift in the first place, selling anyone selling NFTs at this point is just trying to steal your fucking money, obviously. But part of the problem is
he wants to be able to buy the good commissary shit in prison.
Fair. The Harris campaign, I'm pretty sure they're over half a bill since she announced.
I think it's $525 million. But also in July, he only raised like 47 million and she raised like 135
Was it all from Elon Musk? I'm just kidding. Elon Musk doesn't have the money either.
No. But so the Harris campaign, not today. I'm sick of his ass. The Harris campaign's on a monster fundraising run. The Trump campaign is actually the dollars are barely trickling in. And if you look at Trump's businesses after that conviction in New York, like his real estate company, they're not making any more deals. Like no new money's coming in. So the only money he's getting is from like his fucking golf club and these fucking scams.
And he can't leverage it because he can't leverage it to get loans either because there's no income that he can use to say, hey, we're making this, or this. Like they know this is public, bruh. You ain't got no business. So you can't lie. You can't lie anymore because that's
beyond that. So remember, he's got like $500 million in bonds between E.G. Carroll and the New York silver fraud case, which we didn't get the details of the bond agreements between the two companies. So he's got $500 million likely. Some of that including real estate tied up in those deals, and he can't make any moves using those properties as leverage either to bring in new money. So his only hope is that this Truth Social stock stays afloat for another month so he can cash out at the end of September.
With the way that thing is going down, like that's submersible right now. Every day, it's more and more and more and more. Like was less than $20. It was $19 and some change. So
yeah, and if it gets below $12, I believe, then the lockup clause will still be in effect for another few months, so he won't be able to cash in. Look, we got a record stock market performance for nearly every stock except for Truth Social. That's the way it's going in his regard. But again, for more evidence that just Trump is mentally incapable of having an effective debate in terms of arguing on the stage with Kamala Harris. If you had listened to what he was saying in the Biden debate, you'd been like, oh, actually, this fucking shit is insane. Why are we talking about Biden being old when Trump is crazy? But we do have yet another video of Trump losing his fucking mind, basically saying just whatever nonsense comes.
Here's everybody's worst uncle on speed. Literally.
Yeah, it's not ideal. This person can't be the president of the United States again.
These people are just so destructive. So
nope.
I always look for good words.
And now what he's naming
highly sophisticated.
Someone had put out
highly educated.
AI,
I like sophisticated
and it
words,
was
but there's only one word I get. It's stupid.
JD Vance, Trump in the middle, Elon Musk, and Vivek Ramaswamy. And they're like team unity.
Ty, you talked over the video.
What?
You talked over the video.
What video?
These people.
Did you take
an edible?
Who, me?
What?
Ty, did you take an edible?
No.
Oh.
No.
You can if you want to. But yes, no, the Trump video of him just sounding utterly incompetent, nearly fucking insane. Here you go.
These people are just so destructive. So, I always look for good words. Highly sophisticated. I'm highly educated. I like sophisticated words, but there's only one word I get. Stupid. They're stupid people.
Yeah. I always look for the best words. Just get this
sophisticated. Yeah.
Highly educated, sophisticated.
Oh my God.
The best words.
I appreciate him trying to find words that make him sound like he's intelligent, and the most he could come up with is I look for the best words. Yeah, perfect. Carol, after you.
So have we covered, let's see, we can circle back to the battle at Arlington. So as we alluded to before I knew it was a topic for later, 2 members of Donald Trump's campaign staff had a verbal and physical altercation on Monday with an official at Arlington National Cemetery, where Trump participated in a wreath-laying ceremony. So we touched on that. Trump's a dick. His people suck. Holy shit. A source with knowledge of the incident says that the cemetery official tried to prevent Trump staffers from filming and photographing in a Section 60 where recent U.S. casualties are buried. So basically, they had to be explicitly told what is and isn't disrespectful inside of a cemetery where great reverence is expected. So when the cemetery official tried to prevent the Trump campaign staff from entering the Section 60, campaign staff verbally abused and pushed the official aside. What a good fucking harbinger for the future. That's totally the man you want in charge and the staff you want backing him up. So Stephen Chung, the Trump campaign spokesman, issued a statement where he strongly rejected the notion of a physical altercation, adding, quote, "We are prepared to release footage if such defamatory claims are made. The fact that a private photographer was permitted on the premises and for whatever reason, an unnamed individual clearly suffering from a mental health episode decided to physically block members of President Trump's team during a very solemn ceremony."
Yeah, they looked solemn.
Yeah, I mean, like Ty, again, as you spoke earlier about your experience at Arlington, it's not the place for photo ops. I mean, there's a reason they even have the rule in place. Obviously, you're not going to get prosecuted for violating the rule of no photography. But the physical assault incident, absolutely, someone should be prosecuted for that, even if it only ends up being a misdemeanor. But yeah,
also his rule, his fucking defense that like he was allowed to be in the whole cemetery. So like, why can't we do whatever the fuck we want?
Just because someone's allowed in the cemetery doesn't mean they get to violate the rules. And there's a reason why, like these people fought for our country, died in service. They're buried at the cemetery. They don't have the opportunity to speak for themselves in terms of whether or not they want to be used for a photo op for a political candidate. That's why the rule's in place. It doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. And if a Democrat had done anything like this, especially with the accusation of like assault against one of the staff, it would be the fucking headline on Fox News for like a month. It'd be like Obama's tan suit. And then, the allegations about the incident are probably true because after that, I believe the Trump campaign put out the video from the cemetery, and we have the TikTok video of the Trump campaign ad right here.
Oh, good. Let's watch it. I don't watch enough stupid videos.
We lost 13 great people. What a horrible day it was, We didn't lose one person in 18 months. And then they took over that disaster, the leaving of Afghanistan.
Ooh.
Yeah, and he only does this shit if it's for a photo op. Like, he's not going to go anywhere that he can't take pictures and video of and post it on the internet. And we know this because he hasn't been to Arlington in 2 years.
Yes, now it is politically expedient.
Yep. And he used it for a photo op, and it's embarrassing, and people should be disgusted with this behavior. Obviously, if, again, we reiterated a number of Trump's issues earlier, and like, if that doesn't do it for you, this probably won't either.
Or the fact that, he doesn't give a shit about those 13 people. How many people did he leave to fucking die? And is that like
63 people died in Afghanistan during his presidency.
So was he talking about 18 months we didn't lose anyone? How many before 18 months? Did you have a brief lull while you weren't
He's talking about the 18 months before the withdrawal, some of which he wasn't even president. But it's weird that he's blaming Biden for any of the issues on the ground in Afghanistan during the withdrawal, which Trump was responsible for negotiating. But
I get that these are all bad faith accusations. I'm just saying.
What people don't bring up enough is the fact that he didn't negotiate the withdrawal from Afghanistan with the Afghan government. He negotiated with the Taliban. And no one's ever given us any explanation as to why that happened. But here is one of Trump's former appointees explaining how Trump is responsible largely for part of the disaster that took place during that massive withdrawal.
But Trump had his hand on, does Trump bear part of the responsibility for what happened?
Oh, yes. So the whole premise of talking to the Taliban before you leave Afghanistan, why the heck were we even doing that?
He was going to invite them to Camp David.
Right. Even the Obama administration, when they made the mistake of pulling all of our troops out of Iraq in 2010, which really set conditions for the rise of ISIS and so forth by 2014, the Obama administration didn't negotiate with al-Qaeda in Iraq on the way out. And so if we were going to leave, why not just leave? What happened in these series of negotiations and concessions to the Taliban is we kind of threw the Afghans onto the bus on the way out.
And they cut the Afghan government out of those negotiations, right?
Absolutely. So that was mistake one. Then forced them to release 5,000 of some of the most heinous people on earth. And then began
the Trump administration
withdraw.
forced the Afghan government to release 5,000 Taliban.
Correct. And then also stop the active targeting of the Taliban, which President Trump, again, to his credit in 2017, had restored because he was convinced, how the heck does this make any sense? To give your enemy a timeline for your withdrawal and then say, now I'm going to negotiate a favorable settlement?
So it raises the question.
And that's probably why Trump was on Truth Social suggesting that he was going to fire all of the generals and replace them with MAGA nut jobs earlier today. So if you don't want that, if you don't want five-star General Roger Stone and Admiral Paul Manafort, vote for Kamala Harris.
Yes. I second that.
Don't let us go back to this guy. So speaking of people who suck, we got Moby Dickhead. Good one, D.
You don't know who that is if you're listening, but you're going to find out in just a second.
Yeah, so RFK Jr. suspended his presidential bid last week and proceeded to endorse Trump thereafter and having secretly lobbied for a position in both the Trump and Harris administration. I guess maybe one of them reacted more favorably to having a fucking lunatic on their team. So after filing paperwork to have his name removed from the ballot in numerous swing states, Michigan Secretary of State and Wisconsin State Election Board both noted that once a candidate has filed the nomination paperwork and qualifies to appear on the ballot, they can't be removed. I guess if Trump was so nervous that he asked him to drop out, they're pretty sure that he's only pulling votes away from Trump.
Or more Trump voters than not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but on Monday, didn't he file to be on the ballot in Kentucky?
Yeah, it's extraordinarily weird where he does and doesn't want to be on the ballot. Obviously,
well, he said he wants to get some certain percent. He's hoping to get enough percentage to get funding, but
the federal matching funds if you get X amount of percentage of votes. But it's
why don't we just pay him in dead whales and bears?
We'll get to that.
So, an environmental group is also calling for a federal investigation into an episode in which RFK Jr. allegedly severed the head off of a whale that washed ashore with a chainsaw. He then proceeded to drive home with it strapped to his car's roof. So he decided to fucking take a head home, severed head of a whale.
I love some head, but not like that.
Roadhead. Driving the animal across the Massachusetts state line to New York could be a violation of the Lacey Act, a Wildlife Conservation Act. It's also illegal to possess part of any animal protected under the Endangered Species Act. And he brought it across state lines, which could bring it under federal jurisdiction. Yeah. I just wanted to throw that in there.
There you go. And immediately after the announcement of this incident, here we have Trump praising RFK Jr.
Right now, 3 days ago, I was honored to receive the endorsement of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. We're very proud. Thank you.
So fucking orange.
We're very proud to welcome Bobby to our cause. He's really a terrific guy. He's a terrific person, and he's going to do a lot of great things.
So high energy
about it. He's got some very good ideas. Some ideas that people weren't listening to. It's turned
His
out
eyes
to
are
be
very
right.
puffy, like someone who's been crying.
Yeah, clearly the endorsement strategy from RFK Jr. isn't working out well. If he's still on the ballot in these swing states that Trump needs, and that's possibly going to hurt Trump's chances of winning. He's gonna accidentally reverse Jill Stein.
Good.
Yeah, this story about RFK Jr. finding this whale on the beach and cutting off the head with a chainsaw. It's fucking insane. Like this is even. I mean, I don't know.
Why did he have a chainsaw at the ready?
Oh man, like, probably because he's some kind of serial killer from one of those movies from the 70s. I don't know. But like,
and it sounds like he's got a record of like collecting and disemboweling and dumping corpses of various animals. It's only been a couple weeks for me hearing about it, but so far I've already heard two as we're digging up dirt.
I saw this guy on Twitter where he posted a tweet saying he's never leaving Twitter, and he was quoting a tweet from like a decade ago when he was like, I can't understand for the life of me why there's a dead bear corpse in the middle of Central Park.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he posted it as it happened in real time, never got the answer. And then when we all discovered as a nation that RFK Jr. dumped that bear corpse in the fucking park, he was like, yeah, and that shit took off. It was hilarious. But look,
wow, that's crazy.
Obviously, this is the behavior of someone who consumes copious amounts of drugs. I don't know what drugs RFK Jr. is currently doing.
Not the good ones.
Yeah, I think he gave up like the heroin or something in the back in the day. It's also been reported that he's where did he go? Harvard? No, Yale. Went to Yale. Yale Law School. Anyway, wherever he went to college, it's been reported that he possibly
Harvard.
Harvard allegedly was a cocaine dealer.
I didn't even question it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, all right, it's hard to argue. It's like with JD Vance, like it doesn't matter what the allegations are at this point, they're all going to stick because there's nothing you could say. Yeah, nothing sounds unbelievable.
That's a big issue I try to explain mostly to children about the concept of credibility and how you can earn it, but once you lose it, you can't really earn it back.
Yeah.
You're always going to be questioned. Someone's always they might like, but in their mind, they're like, do I believe this shit? Like, probably not. Or what? Like, it's not going to go away. It's that stink on you.
And that's the thing that liars never think about. Like, if they try to confront an honest person, then they're like, well, you forgot that if you say it's my word against yours, people will believe me because I don't lie. You are a liar. Like
unless you're in a cult.
Yeah.
And that's what you bank on, that the people that, they're in a cult. Then
You mean like the Republican Party?
Yes.
Bingo.
Or the remains thereof.
Speaking of credibility, it's crazy that like after all of these years, like every time Trump says something, the media just reports it as though it's fact until proven otherwise, when we know largely everything he says is a lie. because he has an endless track record of just saying nothing but utter nonsense and lies. So maybe in most people's cases, credibility is difficult to earn, but like the media just piles heaps of credibility on Trump, regardless of how many times it's been proven that he doesn't deserve it. I wish they would stop. But, I can't control the media. All I can do is this fucking podcast and tweet on my little Twitter account to, 300,000 people and hope I make a tiny little difference, dropping the bucket, all that good stuff. But last but not least, Carol, at least as far as politics is concerned.
JD Vance continues to be a flop, and we don't mean someone who likes to flop onto the couch. JD Vance attacked teachers who do not have children in a newly resurfaced remark from 2021. Is this a segue? No? Okay. In the resurfaced clip, Vance, who was speaking at a forum held by the Center for Christian Virtue, oh my God, attacks, quote, leaders on the left. And Randy Weingarten, the president of the American Federation of Teachers, for not having children.
And I think our conservative idea is that parents and families should determine what children learn, what values they are brought up with. So many of the leaders of the left, and I hate to be so personal about this, but they're people without kids trying to brainwash the minds of our children. And that really disorients me and it really disturbs me. Randy Weingarten, who's the head of the most powerful teachers union in the country, she doesn't have a single child. If she wants to brainwash and destroy the minds of children, she should have some of her own and leave ours the hell alone.
Typically to be a teacher, it doesn't require you on the job description to already have kids. It's a job just like any other job you go to.
Especially since most teachers happen to be young women, very young women.
Yeah.
Straight out of college.
They
should have kids, and he does. He thinks they should.
Oops, that was an accident.
I was like, what did I say? That was so bad.
No, that wasn't you. No, I mean, obviously, like attacking women for not having children because they want to be like they're taking care of 30 fucking kids 5 days a week. That ain't enough for you. Like this, just I don't understand. Like in any other time we're living in, like this would destroy a presidential campaign. Like these constant tirades against women just for not having children on the schedule that JD Vance deems appropriate. This would kill any other presidential campaign. We live in the weirdest time. Just I don't understand.
Yeah, but we're so many years into like the whole everything I don't like is a groomer rhetoric. I mean, it's so prevalent everywhere. People are there's obviously part of this push against public education. They want to scare teachers into thinking they'll be reported, fired, charged for sex crimes. Who knows? That's what it's getting to. It's not there yet, but teaching things that the Christian right doesn't want them to know.
Like decency in math.
But the thing is
science.
That they constantly attack our schools that their kids aren't even in because they're homeschooling them or sending them to some Hitler youth school.
Because they don't want public school.
Indoctrinated with their Christo-fascist ways, but then they want to put their Christo-fascist in the school that their kids aren't. It's like
because they don't want public school. They want your kids to only have the option of parochial school because that's the only affordable private school that they would have as an option. Or they'll just send people to a workhouse.
People kept they're trying to attribute to Weingarten that she pushed for school closings, but she wanted safe school openings. Like, okay, let's do these protocols, get the kids in school. But they were like, oh, all these kids are behind because of her. And I go, if 1 year of Zoom school put a child years behind academically and developmentally,
imagine what death would have done. It was the middle of a fucking pandemic. Did we want the kids to die? And when they did open the schools, everyone in the fucking country got sick. It was a massive COVID wave.
Yeah, but were you going to say, imagine what not having an education system would be like?
Well, that's also bad. Yeah.
Well, it's like they talk out of both sides of their mouths and none of it ever makes sense. I go, but you're saying that these kids are so behind because they weren't in a traditional brick and mortar school. They had to learn online. So then are you saying that every kid that's homeschooled is development not ready? Because pretty much I'm equating.
Yeah.
You're
it's
at
practically
home
the same.
schooling versus homeschooling. Both entail you being at home and schooling. But at least with homeschooling, you got your mom who has no formal teaching or whatever parent or whatever,
typically,
versus Zoom school with a qualified teacher who is accredited and knows what the fuck she's doing.
Fingers crossed, you would hope.
Well,
but they constantly attack the schools. They want to end the Department of Education. You've seen that in Project 2025, obviously, and it's a couple of reasons they want to do that. It's because public schools don't indoctrinate kids, and they want everyone to get these vouchers so they can go to these private schools, and that's a way for them to indoctrinate kids and hopefully make them more conservative, so they grow up to replenish the dying ranks of the elder Republican Party, but also because like the federal government is one of the few untapped resources left available to private equity if they can ever get their hands on it. And schools would be, a great way for them to make a profit. It's basically free money every year. The government check is coming because kids got to go to school. But also these schools they're typically on valuable land. Like in terms of real estate, it would bump up the net worth of private companies quite a bit to have those schools on their books. It's an asset.
Well, I read today that Betsy DeVos says she's ready to come back into the Trump administration.
Yeah, to finish the job, destroying the Department of Education till it's no longer viable and impossible to repair. And that's one of the things about a second Trump administration, like we just don't talk about enough, that there's all of these agencies and all of this infrastructure and work that goes into making the country run. And Project 2025 is just an outline on how to destroy all of that. And the thing is, it's kind of like it's like a house, right? Like it's so easy to burn it down. You can get it gone in a matter of moments, but the work of building it back up takes an incredible amount of work. And with the amount of destruction that a second Trump campaign would rain on the country, it's likely we would never recover. And people think of this in terms of just like, oh, it's just, another Trump administration, we'll be fine. We don't live in a vacuum.
Who thinks of it that way? Who wouldn't want Trump to win? Who's
Republicans. Yeah. So like in terms of where we are in the world, with competing economies and competing militaries and on and on and on, if Trump came to power and did what he wanted to with the federal government, it would put us in such a place where we might never get back to the top of the food chain. I mean, and there are a lot of people that likely might root for that and thinking that might be beneficial to the world. I would argue against that. We know what happens when typically there's not a democracy at the top of the food chain. It's utter chaos, more war, drought, famine, hardship for everyone across the world. We just can't let that happen, man. But before we get out of here, I guess we'll do yet another vibes check. Ty, how you feeling about the state of the Harris campaign?
You know what? I feel good. I was concerned about, of course, there's always GOP fuckery, what was going on with Ken Paxton, what Georgia's doing. I'm very, very glad that Mark Elias is on the case because he is a Democratic rock star. Like,
I be reading all of his posts and it's every fucking week there's a new lawsuit that he just won a victory in.
Mark Elias suffers no fools. And I really, really appreciate that. But the more that
I wish I worked for Mark Elias.
Fail. He has tried how many different type of propaganda, pushing from having a fake person needing a medic at his rallies after Harris, to trying to steal her song, to trying to do some fancy jazzy rally when RFK Jr. endorsed him, to now the Arlington thing, and then it comes out about the brouhaha. So it's like he's throwing all the spaghetti, which is spaghetti made with ketchup, at the walls right now, and it's all failing. But one thing that I did notice, I try to pay attention as much to what isn't said as I do what is said. So once it was announced that Kamala Harris was going to succeed Biden in the run for the presidency, the money was pouring in. The only people happy about RFK endorsing Trump seems to be Trumpers and MAGA, because I have seen nothing, because otherwise Trump would have been, we raised $100 million after RFK Jr.'s announcement. Zero, radio
Nothing.
silence, crickets. Yep. To me, that says everything. So I'm feeling really, really good. I mean, they're resorted to attacking Tim Walz's dog. And is he cheating on Scout? Like, this is the level that they've sunk. And it just makes them look more and more and more ridiculous. And I'm here for it. I feel really, really good. I know that Kamala's doing really good in swing states. And I think that Republicans who just are done with Trump are going to come through, because they haven't been gerrymandered, in the sense that I think that they're going to come through in a way that the votes are being suppressed in on the, marginalized communities and blue areas, but they haven't.
Yeah, Republicans don't have the same hurdles to vote as
and they're going to have tons of polling places, and they're not counting on. They really hadn't thought it through, the number of Republicans that are so completely turned off and over it that they're going to vote. And I do kind of like the little campaign that I've been seeing on Twitter where people are like, to women, no one knows who you voted for. I like that. And I think that's a really, really good strategy.
Oh, shit. I tweeted out a couple of months ago, if you're a woman, just quietly vote. Well, I guess it's been a month now. You can just go vote for Kamala Harris and lie to your husband. It's fine. He'll never know.
Yeah. And I think a lot of women are going to do that.
Yeah. If that happens, it's toast.
Over. It's a wrap.
Yeah. I mean, because at this point, the way I'll get to it in just a second. Carol, 5 check. Where we at? Kamala Harris campaign, go.
I still think it's going great. I love their campaign. I love how quick they are. I love how sharp they are. I love how aggressive they are. It's the tone that we've needed. It matches.
It's my tone. They stole my shit. No, I'm kidding. But
they stole sass and wit and intelligence from D, who invented all of those things. I'm so glad I met you, because I would have had none wit otherwise. And I'm getting into my postcards. Let's put a link. I figured out how to get the addresses again, and
oh, sweet.
I'm gonna pressure myself into doing it, because I ordered a pack of 100 that are labeled, and I'm supposed to get them all out by September 15th. Ooh. So I'm gonna enlist people and make like an MLM of democracy. I'm gonna put a pyramid of schemes below me and for Kamala.
Fair enough. 1,000 people send out 100 postcards, 100,000 postcards.
No, it's just meant to get my 100 written. I'm going to make them do it. I'm going to get women over here with the
you're
going to
make them do your postcards.
I'll help, but I'm going to recruit help. It's going to be a party.
Right. And you do the hostess thing where you're making the drinks and putting out the snacks, and they're doing all the writing. Gotcha. Perfect.
Okay. Yeah. That's the point, is that I'm sneakily not doing my part.
I co-sign. Go ahead. You're getting the postcards done regardless of whether you're doing the manual labor or not. Yes. It's called upper management.
Yeah. That's
Yeah. So delegation, Carol. Yeah,
you were bringing up the polls, Todd. So if you haven't been paying attention, we're at the point where Kamala Harris has, at the very least, made up for Biden's deficit and tied things up, if not taking a lead. There's even been a few of the polls that lean Republican that we typically look at as cooked, that show Harris with the lead in various swing states. There was one, I forget the name of the polling group. I'll talk about that next podcast, I guess, where they had Harris leading outside of the margin for error, which is, again, take polls with a grain of salt. But to some degree, you can look at movement as a sign that can confirm things that you're seeing with your own eyes on the ground. And that's a possibility. What I think is most important is that the momentum is in Kamala Harris's favor, because the election isn't won in June, July, or August. It's won in October, November, when people are making their final decision and getting ready to turn out to vote. And in terms of money, like we talked about, Kamala Harris has like $500 million in the bank. Well, not in the bank, but raised $500 million since she announced that she would be running on the Democratic ticket in the place of Joe Biden. And again, money can't win you an election, but it can definitely lose you an election if you don't have it. And she's got all of the money in the world. And Trump is struggling in terms of money. And he's not out here really on the campaign trail. And you've seen from the videos, his demeanor, his energy. You say what you want to about his ability to kind of work a crowd. Typically what he was known for in 2016, he's like a shadow of his former self in that regard. And everything seems to be derailing from the Trump campaign standpoint. And I do believe at this point, his only hope to maybe kick off some support is the debate with Kamala Harris. And if you're looking at the polls, again, it's only been a few days since the Democratic convention. She hasn't even gotten her convention bump yet. So that's likely on the way. And I believe that once the polls get to a point where they show Trump is likely guaranteed to lose, then what support he does have will collapse, because people aren't voting for Trump because they think, he's awesome or great, or his policies are fantastic, or he's great for America. They support him because they think he's going to win. But if you take that illusion away, and that's presented on Fox News and in the media and all of the digital outlets online, on social media, et cetera, once the possibility of a chance of Trump winning seems dire, I think even more people will flee the Republican Party. They won't even turn out to vote, and they'll just give up on Trump. And it's possible we could win something in terms of electoral college landslide. Don't quote me on that. Not throwing that out there as a prediction, just in terms of what you should be looking for over the course of the next couple of weeks if the momentum keeps swinging in Harris's favor.
Nice.
Yeah, hoping for the best.
We're gonna be.
Yeah, and if you're out there listening, make sure you do your part and grab, one or two people tell them to vote for Kamala Harris, take them to the polls in November, and that concludes this episode of Part of the Insurrection.